mysterious ancient discoveries can fascinate the public, perhaps because it's all too easy to come up with interesting explanations for how and why things exist. These 25 archaeological discoveries have left people in awe and left scientists scratching their heads year after year. Stone balls in Costa Rica. Giant stone spheres, some dating back to 600 AD, pervade the Ticos Delta in southern Costa Rica. Known as Las Bolas, the balls, these monuments were works of pre-Columbian civilization, and most are made of gabbro, a rock that is formed from molten magma. The people who carved the stones into their perfectly spherical shapes probably did so using other small stones, according to archaeologists who study ancient stones. Many laymen speculate that the so-called Ticos spheres were used for astronomical purposes, while others think they may have pointed the way to significant places. The truth is that no one knows for sure. The Chibcha people who once inhabited Costa Rica and other parts of Central America disappeared after the Spanish conquest, and the purpose of the spheres disappeared with them, said John W. Hoops, an anthropologist at the University of Kansas. Antikythera mechanism. Like something out of a fantasy treasure movie, the discovery of the Antikythera mechanism remains a major archaeological finder of headgear. The round bronze artifact, found in a sunken wreck of a Greek cargo ship at least 2,000 years old, contains a maze of interwoven gears and mysterious characters engraved on its exposed faces. Originally thought to be a sort of navigational astrolabe, archaeologists continue to uncover its use, and now know that it was at least a very sophisticated astronomical calendar. It is still the most sophisticated device ever found in that period, preceding the next appearance of similar devices by 1,000 years. Cleopatra's tomb. Cleopatra VII was the last of a series of rulers called the Ptolemies who ruled Egypt between 305 and 30 BC. Much is known about her intelligence, beauty, and romantic relationships. She had children with both Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, but one fact about Cleopatra is still shrouded in mystery: her burial place. Cleopatra and Antony both committed suicide after their former ally Octavian defeated them at the Battle of Actium in 31 BC. They were buried together in what the writer Plutarch, 45 to 120 AD, called a high and beautiful monument. It is near the temple of the Egyptian goddess Isis. But exactly where this tomb is located remains a mystery. If someone finds the tomb of lovers, there is a possibility that it may be empty, as according to archaeologists, serious robbery was not uncommon in ancient times. Qin Shi Huang Tomb. In 1974, farmers in Shaanxi Province, China, accidentally discovered one of the largest archaeological finds of the 20th century, a life-size terracotta army of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, 259 BC. 210 BC. The intricately carved figures are no mystery. Historians note that the clay army was created to protect China's first emperor in the afterlife. However, it is not known exactly where the emperor is buried, or what treasures may be in his burial chamber. The pyramid-shaped mausoleum is located about a mile northeast of where the terracotta army was discovered. However, no one actually entered the mausoleum where Qin Shi Huang's remains are kept. According to the latest ancient documents describing its construction, the emperor's first resting place is the most magnificent tomb ever built in China. An underground palace, complete with its surrounding kingdom, the mausoleum consists of a network of caves, and even includes a modern drainage system. Whether archaeologists will ever have the technology necessary to safely excavate the tomb, which also contains extremely high levels of mercury, remains a mystery, as do the many treasures that lie within. Atlantis. The lost city of Atlantis has been discovered in the Bahamas, the Greek islands Cuba, and even Japan, if every claim was to be believed. First described by the ancient Greek historian Plato in 360 BC. The mythological island was supposedly a great sea power, and then plunged into the sea more than 10,000 years ago in a catastrophic event. Archaeologists debate the real historical existence of the island, as well as its most likely location, if it ever existed among the many sunken ruins found around the world. But even without definite proof, Atlantis continues to boggle people's imaginations, as do several other archaeological mysteries. Stonehenge. The prehistoric monument commonly known as Stonehenge, is part of one of the world's most famous landmarks. The megalithic stone ring was built about 4,000 years ago, and was an impressive feat for the primitive people who built it, but all archaeologists know this for sure. None of the theories about Stonehenge's original purpose, which ranges from an astronomical observatory to a religious healing temple, was ever, well, set in stone. Ancient animal traps. The low stone walls crisscrossing the deserts of Israel, Egypt and Jordan, have puzzled archaeologists since their discovery by pilots in the early 20th century. The chain of lines about 40 miles long and nicknamed kites by scientists for their appearance from the air in 300 BC, but were abandoned long ago. The mystery may be a little clearer thanks to a recent study claiming that the purpose of kites was to guide wild animals into a small pit, where they could easily be killed in large numbers. This effective system suggests that local hunters knew more about the behavior of local fauna than previously thought. Nazca lines. From the ground, the Nazca lines in Peru are nothing special. However, when viewed from the air, from where they were first discovered by commercial airplanes in the 1920s and 30s, they are stunning. Archaeologists agree that their enormous shapes number in the hundreds, ranging from geometric lines to intricate depictions of animals, plants and imaginary figures, that were made over 2,000 years ago by people of pre-Incan culture before the Incas, who simply removed the red surface pebbles to reveal the lighter earth below and structures of their choice. Why they did this remains a mystery, prompting conspiracy theorists to spread ideas about alien landings and ancient astrology. According to archaeologists, the lines were likely a ritual way of communicating with the Nazca deities. The Great Pyramids. Even the information that archaeologists know about the Great Pyramids of Egypt is extremely interesting, not to mention what else might be uncovered. Built nearly 5,000 years ago in Cairo, the three-pyramid complex with the largest Khufu dominating the site is a testament to the ancient Egyptians' respect for their pharaohs and the subtlety of their belief in the afterlife. Archaeologists are still finding new tunnels and shafts built into the pyramids and are still looking for clues as to who built the great monuments, how and why, even today. The Shroud of Turin. Perhaps no archaeological discovery is more debated than the mysterious Shroud of Turin, believed by many to be the burial shroud of Jesus Christ. This long piece of cloth bears traces of blood, as well as a darkened imprint of a human body. The Catholic Church officially recorded the existence of the shroud in 1353 AD, when the cloth appeared in a church in Liry, France. But the legend of the shroud goes back to 30 or 33 AD. According to this legend, the shroud was transported from Judea, now southern Palestine, to Edessa, Turkey, and then to Constantinople, now Istanbul. When the Crusaders sacked Constantinople in 1204 AD, the cloth was transported to Athens, Greece, where it supposedly remained until 1225 AD. It wasn't until the 1980s that researchers took up the cloth to try to determine its true age using radiocarbon dating. They determined that the alleged Jesus burial cloth was actually created between 1260 and 1390 AD. In other words, the scientists determined that the cloth was most likely a medieval forgery. However, critics of this study argue that scholars may have dated new parts of the shroud that were sewn together centuries after Jesus' death, which explains why the shroud appears to be newer than it actually is. Göbekli Tepe. People first settled in permanent cities, farmed and then built temples, in that order, beginning in 8000 BC. Or did they? A surprising archaeological discovery made in 1994 at Göbekli Tepe, a rural area of Turkey, dispelled this hypothesis, raising new questions about the evolution of civilization. Göbekli Tepe is thought to be a multitude of rings of huge stone columns, on which are carved images of animals, and which date back to the 10th millennium BC. However, the evidence also suggests that the people who built it were semi-nomadic hunters, probably unaware of the agriculture that followed in the area only 5 centuries later. Because of Göbekli Tepe, archaeologists must now ask what came first. Did projects like this lead to construction, not the other way around as always thought? The treasure of the copper scroll here is one archaeological mystery that we would love to solve. An ancient copper scroll discovered at the site of Qumran in 1952 may describe a huge amount of hidden gold and silver, but no one knows where this treasure might be, or if it even exists. The copper scroll was found next to the Dead Sea Scrolls in what is now the West Bank in the Palestinian territories. It dates back nearly 2,000 years to when the Roman Empire controlled the settlement of Qumran. Researchers believe that the scroll could describe a treasure that was hidden by the locals to keep it out of the hands of Roman troops during the frequent revolts against the empire. King Tut's death. Few archaeological mysteries generate as much excitement as this one. The mysterious mummy of the Egyptian boy pharaoh Tutankhamun. King Tut's tomb was discovered in 1922 by British Egyptologist Howard Carter, and ever since then there have been tales of a pharaoh's curse that kills those who approach the tomb. But the real mysteries of King Tut's tomb are even more interesting than any curse. Archaeologists believe that the boy king died unexpectedly, perhaps from an infection or from injuries sustained in a chariot accident. His premature death may help explain the strange state his mother was in when he was discovered. King Tut appears to have caught fire after his body was mummified and his tomb sealed. Experts who studied the mummy believe that King Tut's linen wrappings, soaked in flammable embalming oils, may have reacted with oxygen in the air to cause a chain reaction that ignited the king's corpse, cooking it at about 390 degrees Fahrenheit 200 degrees Celsius. The hasty burial was probably behind the tainted embalming work that caused the fire. But the hasty burial of this royal figure also generates another mystery. Perhaps King Tut's tomb was originally built for someone else, and other unknown mummies may be buried in the same tomb. The Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant is a golden inlaid wooden chest that contains the stone tablets with the 10 Commandments, according to the Book of Exodus. In ancient times this holy box was kept in the First Temple, the Jewish place of worship in Jerusalem. But the First Temple was destroyed in 587 BC by a Babylonian army led by King Nebuchadnezzar II, according to the Hebrew Bible. No one knows for sure what happened to the Ark, although many people, both real and fictional, searched for it after its disappearance. So far, no one has found the holy relic, except Indiana Jones, of course. Some ancient reports say that the Ark came to Babylon after Nebuchadnezzar's sacking. Others say that the Ark was buried somewhere in Jerusalem, or that it was destroyed with the first temple. Modern accounts hint that the Ark is in a monastery in Ethiopia. And a recently translated Hebrew text suggests that the Ark of the Covenant will simply reveal itself, though not until the day of the coming of the Messiah, son of David. The Voynich manuscript. One of the most discussed books of the 20th century was an ancient text that no one could read. The Voynich manuscript, discovered by an antiquarian bookseller in 1912, is a 250-page book written in an unknown alphabet and illustrated with images ranging from female nudes to medicinal herbs to the signs of the zodiac. The book, now in the Yale University Rare Books and Manuscripts Library, dates back about 600 years and was probably written in Central Europe according to researchers. While some scholars believe the book is simply Renaissance hooks full of incomprehensible words, some believe the text of the book is written in an unknown language. Others believe the book contains some kind of code that has yet to be cracked. Stephen Bax, professor of applied linguistics at the University of Bedfordshire in England, said he deciphered 14 characters from the Voynich manuscript in February 2014. The book is likely a treatise on nature written in a Middle Eastern or Asian language, according to Bax. However, some scientific discoveries are indeed stranger than fiction. A telling example, the discovery of hobbits in 2003 on the remote Indonesian island of Flores. No, scientists did not stumble upon the real version of the Shire, but they did discover the bones of a miniature ancient hominin, Homo floresiensis, which they quickly dubbed the Hobbit, the First Age. Floresiensis skeleton they found belonged to a 30-year-old adult female, 3.5 feet tall. At first, researchers believed that the tiny bones may have belonged to a person with microcephaly, a condition characterized by a small head and short stature. But later discoveries of skeletons of similar size have suggested that the Hobbit was not just a tiny man, it was his own kind. Nevertheless, the exact place of age, Floresiensis in the genealogical tree of hominins, human ancestors, is still a mystery. The disappearance of Sanshinjui. Not every confounding archaeological discovery is made by an experienced archaeologist. In 1929, a man repairing a sewage ditch in China's Sichuan province discovered a treasure trove of jade and stone artifacts. These treasures fell into the hands of private collectors, and in 1986 archaeologists working in the area discovered 2 more pits full of Bronze Age treasures, including jade, elephant tusks and bronze sculptures. But who created these hidden wonders? Researchers now believe that members of the Sanshinjui civilization, a culture that decayed between 3,000 and 2,800 years ago, created the artifacts. Archaeologists now know that the Xingxingjui once inhabited a fortress city along the banks of the Minjiang River. But why they left the city, and why they buried so many artifacts in pits before hiding, is the source of much speculation among researchers. In 2014, researchers presented one idea at a meeting of the American Geophysical Union in San Francisco, suggesting that an earthquake 3,000 years ago may have redirected the city's river, causing the residents to move. Noah's Ark. Some things are so good that you just want to discover them over and over again, like Noah's Ark. The biblical boat has been discovered many times by many people. Or has it? For centuries, amateur archaeologists from around the world have claimed to have found evidence of the Ark on and around Mount Ararat in Turkey, where, according to the Book of Genesis, the boat stopped. But some scholars question whether Noah's giant ark was ever built. Like Atlantis, Noah's Ark is an archaeological mystery that will be solved over and over again, even if it does not exist. The Lost Maya. How did a civilization that flourished for the better part of 6 centuries just disappear? It's a mystery that archaeologists working in southern Mexico and northern Central America have been trying to solve for decades. Around 900 AD, the thriving Mayan civilization collapsed, but the reasons for this collapse are unclear. Scientific research suggests that drought may have played a key role in the Maya's fall. According to a study published in the journal Science in 2012, when the Maya cleared forests to make way for large cities and farmland, they may have inadvertently exacerbated the frequent droughts that wiped them out. Other researchers suggest that soil degradation and declining prey populations, notably white-tailed deer, contributed to the Maya's end. Third, experts note that changing trade routes, as well as internal political conflicts, probably hastened the demise of the once great empire. Hatshepsut. You might think that a stone wall 93 miles long would have had a perfectly obvious purpose, but that is not the case with Hatshepsut. This mysterious wall was first reported in Jordan in 1948, and archaeologists are still not sure why it was built, when it was built, or who built it. The wall runs from north-northeast to south-southwest, and contains sections where the 2 walls run side by side, as well as sections where the wall branches off. Although the wall is in ruins today, in its heyday most of it would have been about 3.3 feet high and only 1.6 feet wide. It is unlikely that Hatshepsut was built to prevent invading armies. Nevertheless, it may have been designed to prevent less dangerous enemies, such as hungry goats. Traces of ancient farming west of the wall suggest that the structure may have served as a boundary between ancient farmland and the pastures of nomadic farmers, according to archaeologists from the Jordan Air Archaeology Project. Large circles. Hatshepsut is not the only ancient structure in Jordan that has archaeologists baffled. At the 2,000-year-old stone circles dotting the Jordanian countryside, scientists are also scratching their heads. Known simply as Great Circles, 11 of these structures have been discovered in Jordan. The circles are about 1,312 feet, 400 meters, in diameter, and only a few feet high. None of these short-walled circles have passageways for people or animals, so it is unlikely, according to archaeologists, that they are ancient examples of cattle pens. So what were they for? No one knows. Researchers are now comparing the Great Circles to other circular stone structures in the Middle East to find out their mysterious purpose. Stone. What is it with all these mysterious stones? In 2016, archaeologists in Glasgow, Scotland, unearthed a 5,000-year-old stone slab and its mysterious history. The so-called Kocho stone measures 43 feet by 26 feet and contains swirling patterns known as cup and ring marks, which have also been found at prehistoric sites in other parts of the world. According to Kenny Brophy, an archaeologist and senior lecturer at Glasgow University, the slab may be an example of ancient art. Researchers who studied the Kocho stone in the 1930s thought the inscriptions on the stone may have been related to astronomical phenomena such as eclipses, but Brophy doesn't think they were. He and his team of researchers are now studying the stone more closely to see how prehistoric people might have used it. Superhenge, and now for the mother of many mysterious stones. Meet Superhenge, a massive stone monument located just 3.2 kilometers from Stonehenge in Britain. The huge monument, consisting of a collection of stone monoliths, was discovered in 2015. Archaeologists discovered the monoliths under the bank of the Darrington Walls, a circular mound covered with grass. According to the researchers, this Superhenge was probably part of some huge Neolithic monument. Archaeologists aren't sure of the original purpose of the stones, but they believe the 15-foot-tall slabs once stood, just before they were pushed about 4,500 years ago. The giant monument stands at the site of a natural depression near the Avon River, and it is possible that the stones once helped form a C-shaped arena, where springs in the valley led to the river. An underwater pyramid of stones. In 2003, scientists in Israel discovered a huge stone structure under the Sea of Galilee. The monument, consisting of many giant stones placed on top of each other, weighs approximately 60,000 tons, heavier than most warships, and rises nearly 32 feet in height. Scientists who have found this underwater stone mountain, or pyramid of stones, have no idea what it might have been used for, although stone pyramids in other parts of the world traditionally mark burials, according to researchers. Other huge stone structures are nearby, although none of these known structures are underwater. It is possible that rising sea levels have flooded what was once a land pyramid of stones, the researchers explained after the discovery. Yitzhak Pa of the Israel Antiquities Authority and Ben-Gurion University believes that this aquatic monument could date back more than 4,000 years. It could be the remains of some kind of fortified settlement, PAS told Live Science in 2013. Holy jar. Archaeologists have discovered many holy artifacts, including jars, but the discovery of a holy jar, that is, a jar full of holes, was a first for researchers. The jar, which was originally recovered from a bomb crater outside London after World War II, dates back to Roman Britain, part of Britain under Roman rule from about 43 to 410 AD, and researchers speculate that it may have been used as a lamp, or as a sort of animal cage for mice or snakes. Nevertheless, according to archaeologists, these possible uses are mere speculation. The strange-looking vessel is on display at the Ontario Museum of Archaeology in Canada, where researchers are waiting for someone who has seen such a hole in the wall jar, and who might know the purpose of such an object.